So Brian, how about yourself? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Were your folks entrepreneurs?
My parents were entrepreneurs freshman year at English in high school. I was in special ed English, and the teacher's like, I'm teaching you guys to work for other people. And I stood up, being the loudmouth I am, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I can't work for myself. It's like, well, you guys are in special ed. Like, you're gonna have to work for somebody. Fuck you. Got sent to the principal's office. My dad comes. He's like, why the fuck would you tell a special ed student that? What's wrong with you? And I knew from that point forward, I didn't want to work for anybody.
Imagine having direct access to someone who's navigated life's toughest terrains and come out stronger. Someone who's been there, done that, and can guide you with empathy, experience, and honesty. This isn't just advice. It's a lifeline, a strategy session, a chance to learn from my journey so you can accelerate yours. Without the ability to be self-aware and introspective, the ability for you to get to where you want to go, nearly impossible. Hey everybody, welcome back to the David Guttman podcast. If you find this content useful, like, subscribe, and share. Two really interesting guests today, Makan and Brian, turning the tables here. Really excited to have you both on. Two very successful entrepreneurs doing some stuff together, but stuff separate as well. Part of what I try to do on my podcast is, talk to people that have been able to do two things: be successful and not be assholes during the process. Try to keep some kind of moral compass. Brian, you're looking like, oh, let me think about that for a second.
Well, I'm like, what's your definition of asshole?
So we can get into that because I do have some thoughts about that. But I think what's most useful is when people take a little bit more of the road less traveled. I think that the lessons learned when you've taken the road a little bit less traveled might be more interesting. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to give to my audience, is have people listen to the content and be like, wow, I got some real value from that. Those are some things I can learn and apply in my life and maybe in my business. So, Makan, why don't we start with you? I remember from the earlier conversation about having to negotiate with your mom about whether you're getting a college degree or not. When you grew up, were you a good student? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, how'd you know?
Well, I knew at like a very young age I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That I knew. Even when I was, I don't know, like 10 years old, I remember I used to go to the 99-cent store, buy candy in bulk, and then go in my neighborhood and sell it. Anytime I would like walk on the ground, if it was like a quarter or a penny, I'd pick it up. And then later, as I grew older, anytime I do find like a coin on the ground, especially if it's like really, really beat up, I value that even more and I pick those up because I'm like, that many more people pass that up. So any amount of money I receive from the universe in any which way, I appreciate it, no matter at what level of wealth you're at. I always pick those up. But at an early age, I knew entrepreneurship was kind of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And, my family values education very, very highly. In our family, you either have to be a doctor, attorney, or an engineer. And at the time, I knew I wanted to be to be successful. And at an early age, I was 14. I knew I wanted to do real estate and own high-rise buildings.
At 14?
At 14, I knew I wanted to be into real estate. I mean, I loved real estate at a very, very early age. I loved everything about it. And I think it started with Monopoly. Because I remember when I was 5 or 6, my parents introduced me to Monopoly, and we used to play Monopoly every single week. And I just loved the idea of like owning all these little houses and just getting paid. And so that little bug grew. And when I was 14, I just really loved real estate because every time I drive by a building, I'm like, oh, I want to own that building, get the rental income coming in, just like Monopoly. Because I remember just having all this money from Monopoly. And selling candy as I was growing up, slowly I got into, at 14, I wanted to get into real estate. Then my first job was actually in banking. It was in finance. I had my securities licenses and learned, I thought I wanted to be a stockbroker. And at the time, all the customers I was helping, all the wealthy ones were real estate as well. And I just didn't understand. I'm like, how come all these people have money and they're all in real estate? They're buying properties from auctions. So I wanted to learn real estate, and my aunt was a real estate agent, and I would go after work and just kind of like learn from her. And then I decided to buy my first piece of property at 19. There was a property right next to my parents' house, and I would just drive by it every single day. I'm like, well, I know the neighborhood, I know everything. Let me just buy this property and see what happens. It turned out the first piece of property I bought, I knew absolutely nothing about real estate. I was in escrow, and the market, this is in 1999, the market started shooting up while I was in escrow. And so the seller wanted to cancel escrow because I bought it for $250. While we were in escrow, the property was worth $350.
Whoa.
So he tried to get out of the contract, and I'm 19 years old. And I was like, well, I'm not canceling this deal. I've already made $100,000 in paper, and my job was paying me $425 an hour at the time. So $100,000 on paper was a lot of money. So I ended up suing the guy to force him to sell me the property. So I win. He has to sell the property to me at $250. So we close escrow. I'm like, fantastic. Now I get to remodel the property. So I do a gut reno. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm like, I'll figure it out. So I tear the property apart. One of the neighbors is a contractor or a carpenter. Older guy would always walk his dog around the neighborhood, and he sees this 19-year-old kid in the summer just like tearing this property apart. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm remodeling. He's like, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, well, demo's pretty easy, but I'm sure I'm gonna need some help. He's like, you want me to help you? Like build a kitchen, put in some floors? I'm like, sure. So he helps me with that. We fix the property up. It took me like 2 months to fix it. I put it for rent, and then I get someone interested in renting the property, and then Friday night, I go out with my friends, and I'm telling all my friends, guys, I bought this house. I've been remodeling it. I got tenants moving in. Why don't you guys come and take a look at the house before the tenants move in on Monday? They're like, yeah, let's go buy it. So we're driving by, and I'm in the car. I'm super excited. Like, Makan, you have $100,000? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's worth $350,000. I got a rental income on it. I'm making $500 a month passive. I can't wait for these tenants to move in. As we get closer and closer to the house, I'm like, I left the lights on the house. How come I can't see anything? Everything's like black.
Right.
We get closer and closer and closer to the house, and I'm like, oh my God, a tree fell on it. There was a rotting tree on the property that just fell on the house and like destroyed the front part of the house. And I'm going, I have tenants moving in on Monday, and like the front part of the house is destroyed. So the morning comes, Saturday morning, I get to the house and I see this big giant tree. I'm like, holy hell. I call the tenants. I'm like, look, guys, there's a tree on the property that I don't know what to do. They're like, well, we already give our notice. We got to move in. You got to figure something out. So I call landscapers. They come, they chop up the tree. We clean it up. I give them a discount on the rent. They move in. Then I have to sue the insurance company. So I sue the insurance company on the property.
Well, it's because they weren't willing to pay the claim?
They weren't willing to pay the claim. And again, I'm like 19 years old.
So you've had 2 lawsuits in your first real estate deal.
First real estate deal. Then the market went up. The tenants move out. I fix up the property a little bit more, and then I put the property on the market to sell, and I sell it for $750. Okay, I bought this property for $250. I put in probably like $50,000 all in, and now I'm selling the property for $750. I sold the property for $750. This is 2007, and then I get sued from the buyer like 6 months after the escrow closes. I'm like, why are they suing me?
They have 3 lawsuits in one real estate deal.
And they were suing me. They were claiming that I sold the property for too much.
I never heard of such a thing.
I've never heard of it either. But anyway, I won that one as well. So 3 lawsuits on that first deal. I was like, okay, this was like a lot of experience.
Lawyers on speed dial.
I mean, I learned a lot from that experience. Then I was like, you know what? I learned what not to do in a deal and what can go wrong in a deal. I don't understand financing. So I went into a bank, and I was like, I'll take any job you guys will give me. They're like, we'll give you, the only job we have is 5 a.m. to do data entry. I'm like, cool. Real estate is what I want to do. I love real estate. I know how to buy, fix, and flip now, but I don't understand how financing works. So I get in 5 in the morning. My hours are 5 to 2. So I get in at 5 in the morning, and I'm like, this is great, because then at 6 p.m. I can go to college and then get my bachelor's degree to get my mom off my back. Because my mom was like, you have to get a degree, you have to get a degree. And I wanted to do real estate. So 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., basically Monday to Friday, I go to work. And then the office liked what I was doing because it was a sort of a startup lender, and it was a wholesale lender. They did B2B lending, and they were dealing with Wall Street because they were selling mortgage-backed securities at the time. And I'm a data entry guy, just doing data entry, basic, like just typing up loan application information in there. And I was doing such a good job, they would keep me till 6 p.m. So I was there from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. Basically didn't see the sun. I'd get up at 4, get to the office at 5, first guy in, do all the data entry. And after the data entry was done, they would have me in the secondary desk, locking loans and getting packages securitized for Wall Street. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was learning as I was going. Turns out, basically, from that, I got experience on how mortgage-backed securities worked, how underwriting worked, how the doc department worked, how funding worked, how the inner workings of finance worked from a lender's point of view. Then from there, I got recruited to become a vice president of a wholesale lender. So same type of a bank. From the data entry, I got promoted to sales. And then from sales, I got recruited to become a vice president of a company to do the same thing, open up my own branch. So I opened up my own branch. And then I thought, hey, if I understand how wholesale lending works, I understand how real estate development works, I don't understand how the retail brokerage system works. So I hired loan officers and I created a company and I partnered with someone to open up a retail brokerage that did lending and retail sales, like real estate sales. And I was running a wholesale company. I did all that, and then it got to a point where I was also buying, fixing, and selling properties on my own as well. And then 2008 came around, and I saw the market kind of shifting because I had contacts at Wall Street, and I would talk to them. I'm like, hey, what's going on with the market? And this is March of 07. March 07, they said, it's not looking good. We're not buying any mortgage-backed securities on B paper, and it's not looking good. And I just knew like something bad was going to happen with the market. And I was like, I wish I could short the market. I wish I could short the market. Turns out you can from that movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to do at the time. I was only 27 years old and I knew the market was going to crash. And in the real estate business, I've always felt like because I'm so disciplined and so passionate about that field, that I'm always at the spear tip of the information when it comes there. I can really read patterns very well. And so while that was happening, a couple approached me that were flying in from, they were moving from Florida to California and they wanted to rent one of my properties. And as the market is deteriorating in California, this couple came in and said, we're real estate investors from Florida. We want to expand our business in California. I'm like, newsflash, the market's about to fall apart. I don't think this was a good idea. They're like, no. We make money in real estate flipping properties. I'm like, great. I used to flip properties too. You're going to lose your shirt. They're like, well, we do some things a little different. We do short sales. I'm like, come again? Short sales? What are short sales? They're like, we'll teach you a whole system. We learned the system with Anthony Robbins' team in Florida. We want to come over here and do this. I'm like, okay, what is this? Let's do this. Well, they taught me this concept of short selling and negotiating properties and working with the banks and discounting the notes, which that's kind of where the market shifted into. And while everybody else in 2008 basically was closing their doors and lenders were filing bankruptcy and nobody could sell any piece of property, we were thriving because they were doing short sales and he taught me how the short sale system worked. And we did like over 400 short sales. On our first deal, we made 400 grand doing short sales. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. Did that from 2008 till 2013. And then after 2013, I was about 33 years old. I was like, I kind of want to retire now. I'm done with real estate. I've done all aspects of it. I've done $2.5 billion worth of deals, and I'm pretty good now. I want to retire. Then I was like, you know what? The one area of real estate I haven't done yet is commercial real estate. I've done all aspects of it, but not commercial real estate. And so I applied to a commercial real estate firm, and they didn't hire me. And I was like, I don't understand. Why am I not qualified to work here? They're like, well, you got too much experience, and you're not coachable. I'm like, how do you know I'm not coachable? They're like, well, you got too much experience. You're not gonna listen to us. I'm like, no, I'm really coachable. So they wouldn't hire me. I reached out to their HR. I applied to 4 of their different locations. And 2 of the managers called me back and they said, oh, we'll have you come in for an interview. I interviewed with both. And then both of them offered me a position at the same company after me just trying. They're like, well, why do you want to do commercial real estate? I'm like, I've done everything in real estate. I want to learn commercial real estate. And this is the company I want to work for. They're like, well, if we don't hire you, where else do you want to work? I'm like, I'm working at this company. I want to work at this company. Long story short, the downtown LA office and the Encino office both offered me a position. I was like, I'll work at the Encino office. So I did 10 years there. And the tactics I learned in commercial real estate basically mirrored everything the CIA teaches agents. And I came to find this out later after 10 years of commercial real estate and understanding how this particular company, Marcus and Millichap, teaches their sales guys how to sell commercial real estate and how to understand the psychology of a buyer and how to ask the right kind of questions and open-ended questions and basically just shut your mouth and let the client talk. I then realized that when we had guests on our podcast and a lot of the CIA officers were telling us how the CIA recruits, I'm like, that's exactly how the commercial real estate company does their recruiting. What kind of tests they do? I'm like, they did the same kind of test to us. What does the CIA teach? I'm like, they taught us the same thing. We had like 6-month training to become masters at what we do. And then I realized why we were so successful in the commercial real estate field and why they were so selective and why they didn't want anyone with experience, because they wanted to mold you and make you a killer salesperson. It was very similar to what the CIA was teaching their agents, their operators. And then did the real estate thing for a long time with commercial real estate. Once I figured, my goal was to retire at 40. And once I hit 40, I was kind of like wanting to get out of commercial real estate and just be done with it. And then one of my friends from overseas who worked at a very, endowment, a large endowment, introduced me into private equity and said, hey, let's look into private equity and start doing that. I'm like, what's private equity? Well, I guess we're buying up businesses and rolling them up and selling them and making a ton of money. I was like, sounds pretty interesting. So by the time I got 40, I was like, I want to retire, but then I kind of shifted into private equity. We invested in several businesses, and then my rule was basically similar to your rule. I would do business with people I enjoyed, that wanted to be around, and had a great time. And then that private equity led me into meeting Brian from my hobby side, because one of my passions was the automotive industry, and we were in a supercar club, and we became pretty good friends, and then that transitioned into media. And so that's basically 25 years, $2.5 billion worth of deals in all aspects of real estate, and shifted into private equity, and that's kind of my story.
So Brian, how about yourself? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or were your folks entrepreneurs?
My parents were entrepreneurs freshman year at English in high school. I was in special ed English, and the teacher's like, I'm teaching you guys to work for other people.
Right.
There's like, I think 10 of us in the class, and I stood up, being the loud mouth I am, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I can't work for myself. It's like, well, you guys are in special ed. Like, you're going to have to work for somebody. Fuck you. Got sent to the principal's office. My dad comes, tell him the story. He's like, why the fuck would you tell a special ed student that? What's wrong with you? And I knew from that point forward, I didn't want to work for anybody. And started a car wash in high school. And then from there, it just evolved from the car wash to helping my parents with their healthcare business, to then separating from my parents, doing my own thing in healthcare, and really doing things different than everyone else. And then also going through my own health journeys at the same time of, hey, modern medicine is cool, but how do we treat things that most doctors don't know how to treat? And it was a rare, weird thing. And just going through the health system and figuring it out, I'm like, oh, this is no different than school. Figure out a way to get through.
Did you go to school, or you just been an entrepreneur?
No, I went to school.
Okay.
I got a doctorate.
You have like a PhD
Yeah, I
or
got
something?
a PhD.
Yeah,
And school was not my favorite, and same as Makan, same as Anna.
But how do you say that, but then you get a PhD? Like, those don't go together. Like, school's not for me, but let me get a PhD.
I have an Indian mother.
There you go.
Persian parents.
Right.
I don't think my degree's ever seen the light of day.
Well,
It's in a box. I know where the box is. I think it's sitting with my high school diploma.
got it. Okay. And so now you guys have a podcast together, obviously.
Yep.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us on.
Of course.
Why is that something you guys like? What do you guys get from the podcasting? You're both very successful guys. You don't have to do any work.
Similar to you, the networking's insane.
Yeah.
And then having a social media as large as mine, I can pretty much reach out to anybody and at least elicit a response. Not everybody will come on. And then we get to interview topics we enjoy. Like, we've had divorce attorneys on, business guys, CIA agents, Navy SEALs, like
Right.
an eclectic group of people. And it's just fun to be in those systems and kind of just run through all of it.
Yeah. I just went to an Andrew Bustamante. He was doing an event with Jeremy Miner in Scottsdale. And then I also am a huge Chase Hughes fan. I don't know if you follow his stuff.
I do.
I'm just reading his ops manual. blowing my freaking mind. The content is amazing.
Yeah,
So-
Andrew Makan was on the episode. I think we did a little over 3 hours with Andrew.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. So it's funny. So I, no idea if this is true, but what I heard was maybe he still is in the CIA.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because
No?
we've talked to him outside and we've had dinner, and I think the rumor that is going around that he's still involved with the agency, but
Doing
I
more
think
like PR related stuff, clean up the image.
I
Yeah.
think it's more of he has his book that just came out, and he has to be on his best behavior with them just to get the permissions to declassify a few things, because they signed a lifetime classification agreement. They can't really talk about much, but I think for his book, he had to be really on good terms with them, because originally they said, yes, you can release it. And then they came back and said, no, you can't release it. Now we have issues. So I think it's more about that. And he's a true patriot. I mean, he loves this country. He loves his job. He loves what he does and serves the country. So I think he just has that level of respect for the company, just like I do. I mean, for the companies that I work with, I have a lot of respect for the companies and what they've done for me, and he also respects the agency and all that they've taught him and done for him.
So I got to ask a couple questions at the end of the podcast. The first one, because he basically said that this one of the CIA's top selection criteria is being morally flexible.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a little terrifying when I think about it. So I asked him, I said, what's the difference between being morally flexible and being immoral? Didn't give me the cleanest answer, if I'm being honest. But the other thing I asked him was, how good are those masks? Because everything I've heard was even back in like Reagan's time, the prosthetic masks are pretty damn good. And he's like, oh, the masks are terrible. And I was like, I don't know. I think the masks they might not be Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, but I feel like they're pretty damn good.
I feel like
don't
it's probably better than Mission Impossible.
know.
Yeah.
I would think that's what.
Like, I think there's things he revealed that he could, and a lot of things he couldn't.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So one of the things I'm really curious about, like we talked a little bit about when we were on your podcast about servant leadership and what that means. I'm curious what, because you invest in companies, you invest in people. What do you guys look for when you're looking for a leader, either in a company you might make an investment in or someone you might go into business with? What are you looking for? And then maybe what are the red flags you're like, man, if I see even a tinge of that, I'm out.
Number one thing I look for is a chef.
Chef, okay?
Chef is what makes the restaurant go around. The secret sauce is that chef. If you find the right person that basically, it's very hard to find this person. This person is going to be very, very successful, and you have to find them in the right window of time where they need you. And you have to offer something that they want. Everyone's going to throw this person money. So it can't just be money that you offer. There has to be something else that you have additional to it, whether it's your expertise of what you can help them in. For example, with me, my expertise is real estate and development. So a lot of times if someone wants to invest or start a business that involves any type of real estate in that field, whether it's the car wash business or a restaurant business or anything real estate related, I offer the value. That's where I offer the capital and the expertise and the real estate development part to help them exponentially grow. So I look for that chef, that one guy that he has that secret sauce. He's going to be successful. He just needs a little bit of capital. But if you wait too long, he's going to generate enough capital from the business to grow. So it's that person at the right time that needs money and your expertise. It's a very, very difficult, very, very niche thing to find. And then your second question was what red flags I look for is broke people. I don't do business with broke people ever, because no matter how much money they make, they still have a broke person's mentality, and they'll be cheap in certain things. For example, like if you're a restaurant, they'll skim on something that'll just leave a bad impression for the customer. So that's my two criterias, the chef and no cheap people.
But aren't those a little at odds with each other? Because the guy who needs you at just the right time hasn't quite made it on himself yet. He might not be broke, but he's definitely not flush either.
Broke, it's a sort of a mindset.
Okay.
Someone that's cheap.
Okay.
I meant instead of broke, it's just cheap.
Yeah,
like a
got
cheap
it.
person is
Scarcity mindset.
They get cut corners in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just cut corners in the wrong area. It's hard to explain, but you know what it is when you see it.
Got it.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Yeah. What do they say? Stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. I think, right? Something like that. Well, what do you, Brian? What do you look for, and what do you avoid?
Look for hunger. Do they actually have the drive in them, the fight in them? Avoid, I look at weird things like what's their mannerism when they're eating? How do they show up? Are their clothes clean? Is their car clean? Just all these little things. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
I had, in fact, it was the only professor I had in business school that was worth anything. He had, the rumor was he worked for $1 a year. I don't know if that's true or not, but he had something like 100 plus businesses through his career, and he would hire territory managers that would have to manage a group of businesses, and he would meet with each of them, and he would intentionally hire guys who'd they were really smart, but they'd only finished high school. They kind of had a chip on their shoulder about the fact that they didn't have a college degree, and he would pay them a pretty modest salary, but a huge bonus based on the profitability of the 3, 4, or 5 businesses that they managed for him. He called them area managers, and he was very rigorous in how he would screen these people. And the 2 things he told me he did was he would play golf with them all to see if they counted all their strokes or not. And the second thing he would do, which just I thought was hilarious, was he would pay the waiter or waitress to dump a bunch of water on them. So the very last thing he would do would take them to a really fancy dinner, have them dress up, and then pay someone to dump water on them and see how they reacted. And I always thought that was interesting.
Smart. See, that's a chef that he's looking for. He's looking for that one particular person. And a lot of times, like what I learned the CIA confirmed this, is childhood trauma is a key indicator for success. Just the right amount of childhood trauma is a good indicator for success. But also in the commercial real estate, we found that athletes, anyone with an athletic background, usually is successful when it comes to sales and what they do.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I talk about a fair amount is, because when you're, I always forget what is it like, strong men make good times, all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
But when it comes to when I went to college, it was the first time I was around a lot of people that had a lot of money, where their families were worth 50, 100, 200, $500 million, and most of them were broken. Like I would say 80% plus, because they had Shaquille O'Neal says, you're not rich, I'm rich, right? And a lot of the kids act like they're rich, even though it's their folks. But there was that 10 or 20% that they kind of had a chip on their shoulder about it. Whatever their parents did, they were going to outdo it. Those are the guys those are the horses you'd want to bet on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about, mentorship, both mentorship that you've received and maybe mentorship that you give. I know you specifically made the point, you're looking for a person you can pour into a little bit as part of the value that you bring to the table. But maybe just, talk a little bit about mentorship, and maybe were there people that mentored you along your journey?
I unfortunately didn't have any mentors. I always look for mentors. I do, because at every single level that you get to, there's enough. A mentor can only take you so far until you need another mentor at your next level. I feel like if I had a mentor to get me to where I want to go, it would have been a lot easier. It took me, my journey took almost 30 years to get to where I'm at. And it was very hard, very difficult, and again, treacherous. But if I had a mentor, like the type of mentors I'm looking for, I want them to be billionaires because I want to learn from that mindset and to grow to that level. It's very difficult because their time is very, very valuable. And I have to bring an enormous amount of value over to them for them to offer to mentor me or just give me any kind of advice. So I'm constantly looking for mentors. You know what I mean? At any level, I think you always need it, no matter what level you're at. If you're financially at a level where you're like at the top, there's still someone above you. And if you want to grow, you need to find a mentor that's way above you to get you there. But it's also health as well. There's health, lifestyle, wealth. There's so many different areas in life that everyone needs a mentor for, Brian and I joke about this, but I'm like, there's 5 types of people that you need in your life. You have your attorney friend, your accountant friend, your party friend, your doctor friend, and what was the other one? We had the party friend, the doctor friend, the attorney friend. I guess party friend
would qualify as the degenerate.
Yeah, you need all these to have a well-balanced life. You know what I mean? And I think luckily I have those good friends, but as far as a mentor to kind of like elevate you to the next level, it's hard to find once you get, a little bit higher up.
The thing I struggle with, so I actively, I'm 59. So like for me, like there was no LinkedIn, there was no internet, there's no cell phones, none of that. So the ability, not that you couldn't network, but it's not like it is now. Like it's exponentially easier now than it used to be. But I probably sought out a mentor for like 20 plus years and eventually gave up because while I could find people, and I've had what I'll call a professional mentor where they had domain expertise or just skill, business acumen, but their personal relationships were trash, their health was trash. And so do you really want to take business advice from someone that doesn't have those other issues, like the person who doesn't make their bed or their car isn't clean, right? It's like,
or if they're
really
overweight.
the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so well, how do you think about mentorship? And do you have folks mentor you along the way?
Not really. And I was at that cusp of the internet era and all that stuff, but it was going to conferences and talking to the guys in the industry. But even then, most guys didn't want to share because they looked at me as a competitor across the country. And so it was just taking little tidbits here and there, but same thing as you guys. There was no one cookie cutter. So you take a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and you just slowly build yourself up.
And also, David, you think, I was like, let's do these podcasts. Let's meet all these like successful people online. And we meet them, we go out to dinner with them. Like, they're not really successful. They're just it's just a shell, they're fake and they're not as successful as they pretend that they are on online, on social media. And I'm like, they're still not, like, they can't really add any more value to us. It's really hard to find a really good mentor. Unless you're starting out. If you're starting out at ground level,
right,
it's very easy.
Then it's easy.
It's super easy. But once you get to a level where you're like, I want to retire now, or I want to continue growing, it's really hard.
Yeah. What about giving mentorship? Because I will tell you the one thing that's been interesting to me is, and actually I've had this experience on podcasts as well. Almost every single podcast I've done, and I can't think of an exception, I've learned at least one thing of real value from doing that. I find the same thing when I mentor people. When I'm mentoring, again, there's probably 8 to 10 people I actively mentor almost every single week, not just Anna. And I think I get at least, if not more from it than they do, partly because in order for me to explain this, like, you can know things in a pattern matching way, but you don't necessarily know exactly why you do it. But then when you have to explain it to someone who doesn't have that experience, you force yourself to understand it at a deeper level, which has real utility, at least it has for me. I'm curious if, it sounds like you do actively mentor. I don't know if you do as well, but do you find that you learn stuff from mentoring others?
I did, especially in my field, but I've gotten, again, to a position where I'm not learning anything more because there's just such there's so many things in real estate I've done that it's hard for me to learn something new nowadays. You know what I mean? I'm surprised if I find something newer in my industry. And when I mentor people, it's like kind of like the rinse and repeat. It's the same. Right now, most of the kids that come, they say, hey, can you teach me real estate? I'm like, sure. What do you want to learn? I'll teach them, but then they're like, no, I want to get rich tomorrow. I don't want to get rich in 30 years. I don't want to get rich in 20 years. I'm like, dude, I've been working since I was 17 years old. I'm 46 years old now. Now you're looking at my lifestyle now, but you don't know how many hours of work I put in. I've worked 80 hours a week. I've worked Monday through Sunday. I didn't care.
You still work
Monday through Sunday. You know what I mean? I'll work whenever. I'm always available. Anytime a client calls or whatever we have to do. If we got to go to New York tomorrow, I'll drop and go to New York tomorrow. If we got to go to Asia to meet a client, we'll go to Asia and meet a client. There is no off switch when you're an entrepreneur. And a lot of kids don't see that, or they don't want to do all that. They just want to like put in money, especially the stock this morning. They want to put in money in a stock today and become a millionaire tomorrow and just chill and relax. Yeah. You know what I mean? The hard work is just not there. It's great when you find someone that wants you to mentor them, that's willing to put in all those hours, that you just see this person's really busting their ass. If they did this, it would improve. Those we'd help all day long.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking so much, because I would agree with you. The domain expertise area, whether it's real estate or whatever the industry is, wasn't the part where I actually find that I'm gaining utility. Because when I'm mentoring people, it's not just about the domain area, right? It's everything. I remember Anna asked me the question, how do you have work-life balance, as an entrepreneur? And I said, I think the only way that you can really accomplish it is by integrating, your private life and your business life. That if you really like the people you work with, then when you're going to lunch, you're talking about business, you go to dinner, you're talking about business, you go on vacation, you're talking about business. And so you kind of integrate the two. But I hadn't really thought about it till I was talking to her about it. That's kind of the stuff I was thinking about. And so, anyway, it's just interesting. Well, so, I know you have 2 children. I think you said, was it 1 and 4?
Yep.
Did you have children as well? Or,
No, my wife and I are dual income, 0 kids.
Okay, got it. So are you ever planning to have kids or
No.
no? Okay. So, one of the things I find interesting, so married, divorced, I think, right? So one of the things I find interesting is the biggest blind spot I see that really successful men have generally is their romantic relationships. That tends to be a place where, people that are very successful sometimes get kind of kneecapped. I'm curious what you guys have seen and experienced and how you guys think about it. And I've generally seen two kinds of relationships that tend to work, where they work together in the business or where the wife is really more of a force multiplier for the husband. Those are generally the way I've seen it work the best. So I'm just curious about your own opinions.
You want to go?
You want the 2-time loser to go?
Oh, twice?
Well, I can tell about my married
I'm a
one.
one-time loser, by the way. So
I'm married only once. 10 years we've been married, and our relationship is we're both professional. I do my thing. She does her thing. She's great at sales. She does her own thing. It's totally separate industry. She's in the fashion world. I'm in the real estate and finance world. And what I think makes us successful is we have a lot of respect for one another. The level of respect is super important. Respect in a sense where we joke, but we don't joke in a disrespectful way to one another. Mm-hmm. So I think respect is very, very important. And I think that I would say that's pretty much it. The respect is like super important to have.
I don't know if you ever, there's an author named John Guttman. Mm-hmm. And I think the book was called 4 Horses of the Apocalypse, where he's able to predict with like 95% accuracy who's going to still be.
I think it's 98.
Yeah, it's really high, but it's like if you have contempt for your partner, it's over. It's just about when, but you're done.
Or if you drop the D word.
There you go. So what's your opinion about relationships? Yeah, again, one-time loser, two-time loser?
I think it comes down to respect and just understanding one another. And, being an entrepreneur, there's some weeks you don't sleep and you're punching a bajillion hours. And it's finding that balance of, hey, my partner's out busting my ass for this to provide X, Y, and Z. Yes, some days your partner's going to have to pick up the slack and vice versa, but it's having that understanding and that balance.
But also, I don't think we play by the traditional rules in our relationship. For example, most relationships are like, today's Valentine's Day. We have to go to dinner. We have to have a gift. I mean, we do this a lot. I'll randomly buy my wife gifts. Right. Randomly, we'll go out to dinner. So when Valentine's Day comes around, it's just another day. When anniversaries come, it's just another day. So it's not like we're not playing by the rules the society has you in a relationship where you have to do things. We just do what we want. And I've learned very early on that I don't do anything I don't want to do. And so, for example, if something is going to make me uncomfortable, I just won't do it. If I don't care if it's a business opportunity, if I don't like it, I won't do it. Life is just too short to do things that you don't like. And I think everyone has a certain set of discipline that's throughout the day. And as you start doing things you don't want to do, you start wiping away this discipline. And then at the end of the day, you have nothing left. That's where like you get into fights or you overeat or you do things because you're doing things you don't want to do throughout the day. And when you just like kind of like let yourself go, and then you'll have your fights or you'll overeat or you'll do things you don't want to do or you'll drink or just ease off your diet. So I think if you just kind of look at life and try to make it as balanced as possible, whereas like, for example, my wife and I, we don't have a set time to go on vacation. We look at each other, we're like, do we want to go on vacation in 2 weeks? Let's go on vacation in 2 weeks. Where do you want to go? I don't care. We'll go anywhere. So there's no rules. There's no set of like, we have to go on vacation Memorial Day weekend because that's when everyone goes, or 4th of July, or we have to go out to dinner on Valentine's Day. Let's go out to dinner the day after Valentine's Day. It's not as crowded. It's not as expensive. The food doesn't suck, and we'll do our thing.
My wife and I have a similar rule. We never ask the other person to do something they don't want to do. We might ask them, but it's totally up to them. And you also can't be passive aggressive about it. If the person, declines the request. So if she wants to go visit her sister for Christmas and I don't want to go. Now, I might not want to go and still agree to go because I know how important it is to her. Yeah. And that's 100% my choice. And she doesn't get to be passive aggressive about it. We've been together almost 10 years, have never uttered an unkind word to each other, which, my experience is, and I think this is not just true in romantic relationships, it's true in business relationships and friendships too, which is don't leave questions unasked. And don't leave opinions unspoken. Like, if something matters to you, like you got to say it.
And also, I don't cross lines. For example, even with our friendship, there's sometimes Brian will joke about something and I'll turn him and I'll say, Brian, don't joke about that. Or he'll say, hey, what are you gonna eat, fatty? And I'll say, hey, don't joke around with me. Don't call me fatty.
Right.
Like, I know you're joking and I know it's a joke, but it's something that's eventually gonna piss me off and I'm gonna do something back to you and it's gonna escalate into a problem. And we don't need that problem. So it's easier for me to just kind of stop you right up front. And that's the same thing I have with my wife. If my wife does something I don't like, I say, hey, don't do this because I know myself. We're gonna play this ping pong of back and forth, and in 2 weeks we're gonna into a crazy fight over something stupid that started with this.
Yeah.
So I just draw the line with friendships, with everything right off the bat. I just don't want to have anyone in my life that crosses boundaries. And I guess like having boundaries and having respect is universal when it comes to friendships, business partners, and relationships.
Yeah, I said a slightly different way. My wife and I, we go out of our way to always assume positive intent. So if my wife says something that came across to me as rude or inconsiderate, I'll be like, so, did you mean to say it that way? Because my assumption is she did not, right? Sometimes it does have a positive unintended consequence. Early in our dating, and I really didn't say it to be mean. I said, well, you're skinny fat. Because she had never been in a gym. Now she works out like a maniac, but back then she didn't work out at all. And of course, I didn't realize how upset I had made her when I said that. She started working out, again. So it did have, that was not my intention, but it did play out better than I expected. So now, two-time loser, as unlucky as I was in my first marriage, I hit it out of the park the second time. You thinking there's a round 3 for you, or?
He banned me from round 3.
Look, he knows what not to do twice. So like, as long as you don't make the same mistakes, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I personally think it's more valuable when persons failed more times than not, because you really know what not to do. The smarter person learns from that person. And I think the genius avoids it altogether. You know what I mean? So depending on what your level is, you can learn from other people's mistakes and not make those mistakes, or just avoid those mistakes altogether.
Well, my daughter, so a 25-year-old daughter, and I want to say because I got divorced when my daughter was 1. So she doesn't know me and her mom together at all. I think she was maybe 8 or 9 at the time. And out of nowhere, she's like, Dad, I don't think I've ever met 2 people more poorly suited for each other than you and Mom. So my 8-year-old knew
This
it.
is at 8.
At 8. I didn't know it. But again, I think that, and I actually said to like my close friends, if I ever say I'm getting married again, rendition to me some black site and waterboard me till I recant. That's how I was never going to get married. But I knew what wouldn't work for me. And my second wife, like, none of it applied. Just she never busted my balls about anything. I think she's born here, but she's first generation Afghan, and just I think I've had much better experience with first generation people that I've dated versus people that were born here, or second, third, fourth generation. Anyway, so never round 3, probably not on the cards for you.
Look, right now my kids are little.
Right.
Enjoy them.
So 1 and 3. So you're raising them yourself?
We're 50-50.
Oh, 50-50. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's great. Look, I think that I will say this, that having my daughter completely changed. Again, if you had asked me in my early 20s if I was happy, I wouldn't have even understood the question. I really would not have. It wasn't until I had a kid looking up at me, expecting me to teach her how to be happy, that it even occurred to me that I probably need to figure this out.
Yeah, just getting smacked at 2 a.m. sucks.
It does.
Wake up.
It does. Well, so what's the stuff you guys are working on now that you're most excited about?
A lot of things.
Well, give me the top 2.
Only 2? I mean, the podcast that we're growing is fantastic. Me just diving into the media world and investing in media company with Brian and growing the media company and also podcast. It's great. Meeting a lot of people is great. And we're able to give a lot of good information out and help a lot of people with that, just the outlet. And then what else, Brian? I mean, I do everything that I enjoy. I mean, I don't do anything I don't like. So I'm having a great time. I'm going on. It's a great ride.
Yeah, and we eat good food every day, just.
Right.
And health, I guess health and the media, right?
Yeah, since we've partnered, we've both been on a crazy health journey, doing crazy stuff on that topic and just literally traveling and doing some of that stuff.
And you guys, sounds like you guys are doing that stuff together for the most part, right?
The longevity, yeah. He takes it to a extreme. He takes it to
But he's also never hurt himself to the level I have, so I have to go down a different path.
See, I'm very cautious.
Yeah.
Ever since I got into my 40s, I avoid a lot of things in the gym. I don't even ride a bicycle anymore because I'm like, you know what, Makan, you're 46 years old. You don't need to fall. You don't need to hurt yourself. It's unnecessary. When I'm lifting at the gym, my friends are like, bro, what do you, like 25 pounds? Like you can't do any more than that. I'm like, well, I could do a lot more. I don't want to risk injury when I'm 60, 65. I'm okay doing, just enough to be healthy. I'm planning, this is a long-term plan for me. I want longevity. I don't want to, show off or do any of that.
Have you guys ever tried the ARX machine?
ARX?
ARX, yeah. So
What's
it's like,
this?
it's an AI. There's two different pieces. There's an upper body and a lower body machine. I think they're 50 grand each. And then what they do is they use AI to basically maximize, because if you think about like a bench press, the amount of resistance through the range of motion is completely different. So in parts of the range of motion, you're much stronger than others, even though the weight is consistent. The way the ARX machine works is it maximizes the entire range of motion. And like I literally did 6 leg press reps and I could barely walk. I mean, it's the most efficient from a time standpoint workout I've ever done in my life.
This is something you put at home or you go use it?
So there's some gyms here called SmartFit that have them. You can also buy them for yourself. Wealthy guys like you could afford them, but they're about 50 grand each. They're also huge, big pieces of equipment. But and knowing how to, probably better to do it at one of these gyms because you have like an exercise physiologist that's basically taking you on these machines, and it is a next level workout. Because the thing is, it's super efficient. You don't have to worry about injuring yourself at all. And their average increase in strength in a 12-month period of time, and these are not people that are coming in untrained, is 70%. That's their average 1 year increase in strength across the board, across 4 top 4 exercises.
I have a trainer that I work out with 3 times a week, and this is the longest I've known my trainer for about 17 years.
Wow.
I used to work out with him like 17 years ago for like a year and a half, and then I stopped, and then started again 5 years later, and then stopped. This is 6 years in a row that I've been working out consistently. And what I enjoy about that is that the 1 hour that I have with him, I don't have to think about anything.
Right.
It's just Mike surprised me. We'll do a circuit or we'll do something, but he knows the long-term goal is longevity, and I know it's a journey that we're going for.
Sure.
So I definitely want to try that to see what it's like. But what I like with just working with a trainer is for that 1 hour, my mind is completely clear. And everyone's like, don't you know how to work out already? Why are you paying a trainer? I'm like, dude, I'm not paying a trainer to train me.
Right.
I'm paying for that 1 hour of peace of mind of not thinking about anything, just going in like a robot and just doing my exercises that I know is going to help me with longevity.
Right.
I have 1 hour clear mind, and it's 3 times a week. And then nutrition's on my own outside of that. But it's more for like mental therapy and physical therapy that I do.
Well, this is all guided by the trainers as well. Not your trainer, obviously. They also have this machine. I'd never seen it before called a Vesper bike. Have you heard of these things?
No.
They're like 40 grand. But what they basically do is, so there's an old Stanford experiment that was done, not the prison experiment, but where they basically, it feels like a blood pressure cuff around both biceps and both thighs. And then there's also one that goes around your neck, and it runs like 40-degree water through all 5 of them. And it's a recumbent bike. It's a HIIT workout, a 20-minute HIIT workout that doesn't feel like a HIIT workout. So it has the cardiovascular response of a HIIT workout, but it feels like you're just going for a cruise.
Is this the same gym?
Same gym.
What's the gym called?
SmartFit.
Do they have them in LA?
They do.
SmartFit. Remember this.
Yeah.
We got to go and try them.
I'll introduce you to the guy who runs the. In fact, I just had him on my podcast yesterday. I tell you, it's the coolest shit I've ever seen.
I'll try the bike. I don't know about
I want to
the
try
machine.
all of it, actually, see what it's like.
Yeah. So I'll introduce you to Connor, great guy. Take you through a workout. He really knows his shit.
Yeah, we're totally into like anything, like IVs, the NADs, the stem cells.
Look, you got me at like quick workout because I don't like working out.
I don't like quick workouts. I need that full hour to like completely like just relax.
I'll take you
and
20-minute bike ride and we're good.
Well, the other one I did, so this Lumati thing is called 5-in-1. So you take this shot of this supplement, then you're standing on a vibrating plate, not a power plate. It's much gentler than that. They say that 15 minutes on this plate has the same bone density impact as like walking 10,000 steps, but it's 15 minutes. You're also wearing headphones, noise canceling headphones with vagus nerve stimulation. You're listening to a guided meditation while it's stimulating your vagus nerves. You're breathing in nanoparticle hydrogen on this vibrating plate and this red light and this 15 minutes. So I did this thing, right? I don't know what the hell it was, right? So I do the 15 minutes. I have never, in my 59 years, felt as relaxed as I did after I finished this 15-minute thing. Then the guy who is the president of the company, and I went to breakfast and we took a hike. I just had my vision tested recently. It was like 20/40. For 5 hours, my vision was 20/20.
Because of the red light, right?
I don't know if it was the red light or the nanoparticle hydrogen or the combination. I don't know what it was, but for 5 hours, my vision was 20/20 again. It was weird.
So my understanding is your vision, and again, when you turn 45, and I realize this
That's
because
when the reading glasses have to kick in.
one of my friends walks in as I turn 45, and he's like, Makan, how do you like being 45? I'm like, it's not bad. He goes, your vision go yet? I was like, yeah, how'd you know? He goes, it happens at 45.
Right at 45, like clockwork.
Yeah, so what I read is the largest sugar receptors are inside of your eyes,
Right.
and your mitochondria there needs a lot of it. And so the red light therapy really helps with vision because it helps stimulate the mitochondria inside your eyes. So it could be from the red light, but I've read a lot about red light therapy helping with vision. I don't need glasses yet, but I am getting to like do this sometimes when I'm at a restaurant that's super dark. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I'm doing this.
I hate it because
I had great vision.
I had contacts since I was in 7th grade, and then I had LASIK at 35, and so I had 10 years where I didn't need any glasses. But once I hit 45 like that, I now need reading glasses. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, so I'm 46, and it's not 100% there yet. But when it's pitch black in a restaurant, and I'm like,
the low light is
horrible.
Tough. Yeah,
it's horrible.
If
It's
you're in a Master
embarrassing.
Steakhouse, it's over.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm just staying quiet on the topic.
Yeah, wait till you're. He's a baby still.
What's that?
He's a baby still.
Oh yeah,
he's
no,
38.
I don't even remember that age.
Yeah,
so long ago. Well, so what's next for you? Is there anything that's sort of a little bit on the horizon that maybe you're not working on now, but you're seriously thinking about?
Honestly, I'm just like enjoying life and just going with the flow. I think the most important thing, like when you get into your 40s, a lot of people close to you start getting sick and start dying off because now everyone's in their 60s and you see that their lifestyle and what it leads to. So I'm super concerned about health and longevity now, because I know from now till I'm in my 60s, this is the time where I can prevent a lot of diseases. So health is number one. Again, I do everything that I want to do. I don't do anything I don't like doing, and being around good people, that's the most important thing, I think.
How about you, Brian?
Raising my kids.
Yeah. So if you flash forward 30 years, so you'll be in your mid to late 60s. Now your kids are in their 30s. What would you want them to say about you?
Dad was there.
Dad was there.
My parents were not at a lot of events.
Yeah.
And my daughter's homeschooled, so just, being present for all of that. Yeah.
And because it's funny, so my second wife, she's a good bit younger than me. And so we had the conversation, because I'm like, look, she's 32 now. I said, if you wanted to have kids, like, so we were talking about it last year. I was like, I said, look, I'm going to be 80 when they're like finishing high school. I said, but if you tell me that you think your life will not be complete without having a kid, I won't just agree to it. Like, I'll get behind it. Right. I said, but really think about it. I said, because our life's really pretty fantastic, and it won't make it better. Like, it just won't. Right. And so she talked to her mom, who's got 4 kids, and her mom's like, don't fuck it up. You got a great life. I had her mom on my podcast, and her mom said, well, if you could go back in time and do something different, what would it be? She's like, not have kids.
My wife and I don't have kids.
Right.
Every single person that has kids, they go, I love my kids, but if I didn't have them, my life would have been a lot better. Look, all my friends that have kids all tell me, they love their kids. Their kids are wonderful. It's the best thing that ever happened to them. And then comes that but.
Right.
If I didn't have kids, I wouldn't have kids.
Well, look, I can talk about it from both sides because, I my daughter's terrific. And with that being said, the greatest joy I feel has been really connected to my daughter, and the greatest suffering by miles. That's the only thing that can wreck me is if something bad happens. When I was 24, I was misdiagnosed with cancer. And I remember, for about a month, me and my parents both thought I'd be dead in 6 months. And I remember how just devastated if someone told me my daughter had 6 months to live, I'd be an absolute basket case. It's the one thing where you just feel completely helpless. And so that feeling of helplessness for, high charging guys, type A people that like to be in control of things, it's tough. It's tough.
I don't know if I'm considered type A personality.
I'm
pretty.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Man,
You're
I'm very-
17. Where really?
I'm very
selling
like,
kid bags of candy when you're in like middle school. Come on.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I'm more like an introvert, not like to be in.
I have to
like,
force him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, we got this thing to go. I don't want to go.
He's the networker. He
Okay.
enjoy when we go to networking events. I'm nowhere to be seen. He's the one like kissing
Like-
babies, shaking hands, talking to the whole crowd, getting all the
like
I'm just-
recently, there was an event in Miami we had to go to, and
he flaked.
I flaked like 12 hours before. I was like, dude, I
I
can't
booked
get
the flights, and he's like, I can't go.
I can't get coverage for my kids. Like,
Right.
good luck. He's just like, I don't network by myself. I'm like, you're about to today, Junior.
How'd that go?
So I'm like, hey, how are you? Texting him, talk to this person. Then I meet the next person. Hey, how are you? Texting him, talk to this person. I'm like taking pictures of them, putting their name, phone number, and like texting it to
I'm
them.
like, why is he sending me everybody's fucking phone number?
I'm like,
right
I'm
now?
not gonna follow up. Talk to them. I don't want to talk to people.
I'm the king of following up and staying on task.
Yeah.
Well, my second wife and I decided to get a dog. That was the decision that she made. So her call.
Is that considered a dog though when it's that small? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you know, I gotta say though, I had a French bulldog years ago that was he was just the love of my life. He was the sweetest little animal, and he died on my birthday, and I was like traumatized by it, like PTSD. I'm like, I don't know if I can get another creature and fall in love with it and have it, you know, because definitely I hope to outlive it. Yeah, so we got a dog. But listen, guys, I really appreciate you making the time and coming on and chopping it up a little bit. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
you.